Hey everybody, this is Dan Hornacek with Leading on the Frontlines podcast. Back again this week to chat about different ways to become a better leader and manager within your organization. And hopefully you can transition it into your personal life as well. This week we're going to talk about how past negative experiences can kind of potentially transform you into an influential leader. I think people have a tendency to sort of keep negative past experiences either at bay, or they don't utilize them in a way that could have a positive effect on people. I think that, while these experiences, they have been challenging, difficult to navigate, they can really shape a person's character, their overall resilience and empathy with others. And I think it can have a big impact overall on how you are as a leader. I think the number one thing with this too is increased empathy. Going through, hard times, I think allows us to foster better empathy and understanding towards other people who are going through hard times. People who have experienced hardships are often more compassionate and sensitive to these things. So an example of that is, I myself was put in a situation where I was homeless for a brief period of time in my late teens, due to some circumstances with parents and whatnot. And during that period of time, finding places to live, being able to pay rent, being able to buy food, things like that, were all very difficult, and I had jobs in sometimes one or two or sometimes three jobs at a time. Moving into leadership positions many years down the road, decade later, you really find yourself in situations where you have employees in similar situations. Maybe they're not necessarily as dire as being homeless, but maybe they don't have a lot of food, or maybe they're running late to work because they're dealing with some problem. And I think that having that increased empathy from being able to look back on things that you've gone through, it just creates more of a supportive work environment. It really allows you to be sensitive to the needs of the team members at that time, and I think that's something really great to come from your own negative hardships. To kind of play off that, your resilience, determination, overcoming these past negative experience requires these things. You didn't lay down and just let them topple over you. When you face and conquer challenging situations, and it allows you to be better equipped, right, to tackle, negative obstacles. And, by having that kind of mindset, or have been through that mindset, you can inspire your own team to persevere in the face of adversity. You being an example in that regard really helps set the tone for others too. It's easy to monkey see, monkey do, right? I think people in the face of adversity, if they see people kind of becoming Johnny Rainclouds about it, more people are going to migrate that way. But if you can kind of turn the page into more of a positive mindset, or just kind of a we can do this attitude, it's really going to pay off dividends in getting the job done. So the ability to bounce back from setbacks serves as a source of motivation for others. And I think that's something where, if you think about your life in places where you have overcome adversity, right? And I think, it's a pretty vague word. I mean, just thinking about, the grief of a loved one dying, right? You're overcoming that, right? It doesn't just have to necessarily be a bad day at work. It could be something where, you have a flat tire, and then your car won't start, and then you're late to work. And then, it could be one of those things where you overcome these sets of small items every single day. And if you really, it doesn't have to be this big dire thing, but I think if we think back through our daily lives, we all kind of get over these obstacles every single day. It could be something great like the death of a loved one, or it could be something, or many things small, but I think it's good to take stock of that and to give yourself credit where credit's due for being resilient, and having the ability to get over it. I think that along with that, it brings a certain level of authenticity, and vulnerability with your team members as well. Negative experiences can strip away pretenses and kind of bring forth authenticity, and I think that's really really cool. I think as a leader, we need to openly share our past struggles, with our people. I don't think, if it's something super personal, of course, you can either be vague or say it was someone else you knew or something like that. But I think when we do openly share our struggles, or, you can demonstrate vulnerability to your people. It fosters trust and connection with your people. And, by being genuine and relatable, right? I think one of the things that worked really well for me, at least with this concept, is the fact that I have been through quite a bit of stuff in my life, and by being open with my employees, it gave a little humanity to me as their boss, and I think people really appreciate that. Like they say, that vulnerability of just talking about something that maybe you weren't at your best, or something that you got over. You're being genuine and relatable, and you're in an environment where other people are now comfortable sharing their own challenges with you. And from a leadership standpoint, that's exactly what you want. If by you being open and vulnerable with your employees, and now they're comfortable sharing these things, they're going to seek support through you in a more proactive way. And in my opinion, some of the best proactive ways, because they're coming to you from, like, this person, my boss is human too. He's been through some stuff. I'm going through some stuff, and it might be way less. We could just be talking about work stuff. I'm going through adversities at work, whatever. But it could at least open up dialogue with your team members, and I think that's something that I've mentioned many times on this podcast. Another item here is like with problem solving skills. Adversity demands creating problem solving skills. I think, same thing like I mentioned before, like finding where I was going to eat that day was, for a little while there, something that I had to figure out every single day. You just figure it out, right? I mean, you could do that or curl up and die, and that wasn't really the option I wanted to take. Leaders who have overcome past negative experience have really honed in this piece of problem solving, and kind of, I think a better way to look at it is like developed innovative approaches, right? Because when we're put in positions like this, in our lives, where we're needing to problem solve, we're needing to figure this stuff out, it's normally because the usual way of completing whatever it is no longer available. And I think the idea of innovative approaches, right, I think that's a really cool way to look at problem solving, and think about, and give yourself credit too. I really think it's important to give ourselves credit for, overcoming the things we have in our lives, and then kind of using that as motivation to get the creative juices flowing and problem solving. It allows your ability to think outside the box and find better solutions, or inspire your team members to help find solutions and approach challenges with more of a positive, solvent mindset. And I think that's something that, if you think back to positions in which you were not in a favored position, and the solution you came up with, it's going to be like that. It's going to be that innovative idea. One thing that it's kind of like a big thing right now is emotional intelligence. Negative experiences as a whole can heighten emotional intelligence. They can enable leaders, to better understand and manage their own emotions and those of others in negative times. It's and this can be looked at a couple different ways, right? Because you've got like fight or flight, right, responses. I myself, I'm a fight guy. I always want to make sure I'm kind of at the front of the line. That's just me. And I don't know, I don't know if that's the majority of people, if it's a 50-50 split, but I think there's a lot to be said for flight too, because flying, the flight piece of it allows you to take a step back and observe, and that's something that if you're up in it, you might not be able to do. So there's benefits to both of these things, but allows you it enables you to navigate difficult situations with better composure. So whatever works for you, whether it be like fight or flight, whatever works for you, it's going to allow you to make a better sound decision for you and your organization at the time. Provide support for your team members. It's going to, if you kind of, I don't look at it from a negative perspective. Regardless of what you do, you can kind of put a positive frame on it. And I think that, allowing yourself to do what you need to do, fight or flight wise, and, keep your composure and make those decisions is important. And then the last piece of this too is like vision and purpose, right? Past negative experiences suck. It sucks to think about them. It could bring back emotions. And I'm going to clarify too on this. Maybe I should have done this in the beginning of the episode as well, but I'm not so much referring to like significant trauma. I'm more talking about just, maybe a bad day or, a bad period of life. But yeah, I think past negative experiences can really provide clarity for you. It really, for me at least, it really set the pillars of my values, and they're very defined, and it's easy to rely on if I'm making a decision or I'm needing to have a conversation with someone or something like that, or something's brought to me. My values are very defined for me, and that clarity for me personally was really given through kind of going through negative experiences in life. It really can shape your sense of purpose. And when you're overcoming personal setbacks, it often helps develop strong vision for the future, right? Because, and this kind of plays into a couple episodes ago when I was talking about not focusing on what you don't want, but what you do. You're going to be put in positions where it's going to be easier to develop these visions because you understand the difference between getting stonewalled from what you don't want and kind of like piecing together, I want this, how do I get there? And I think that's really important. In doing that, developing that strong vision for the future, you create this kind of deep commitment to making a positive impact. Your personal journey in a way kind of serves as a driving force to inspire and motivate others towards a shared or positive goal for themselves. I think, negative experiences suck, like I said, but they can have a profound positive impact on where you go. And it's kind of like, yes, this sucks, but at the end of the day, it's defining what I want, because I don't want this. And, keeping that in the forefront of your mind and, having it help in your decision making and like I said, having clear set values and doing all the things I've talked about during this episode, I think it makes it easier. And not only are you more resilient when other negative things happen to you, but at the same time, it can really lead you to more of a motivated thought process when you're trying to achieve a goal. When you look ahead and you see potential problems, it's not so much like a heavy sigh and like, oh man, I gotta go through this again, but it's more so like, I've been through things far worse, or I've been through bad already, so I know I can make it through the other side, and this is how. So it kind of gives that positive forward thought and that stuff. So I mean, really, again, with this episode, I wanted to talk about how negative experiences could kind of transform people and individuals into more influential leaders. Again, this is by cultivating empathy, resilience, authenticity, problem solving, emotional intelligence, and a clear sense of purpose. These qualities enable leaders, again, to connect with your team, to navigate challenges, and to inspire others to overcome obstacles too. And I mean, and ultimately achieve success, in my opinion. I think these are all great things. I think that negative experiences have gotten a bad rap a little bit. So I don't know. I think it's a really cool thing to talk about today. I hope you guys kind of ponder these points. Let me know what you think, and hit me up again on Instagram or YouTube, Leading on the Frontlines, or on X, Leading the Front. Would love to kind of hear your guys' feedback on these things. But again, this is Dan Hornacek, Leading on the Front Lines. I hope you guys have a great week.